Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Matthew, and if you're new to the channel, then welcome. If you're returning to the channel, then welcome back. So guys, in today's video, I want to talk about the differences between a 2018 model Sur-ron and the new 2021 model Sur-ron. I get a lot of comments on here about people wanting to buy the bike, and they're wondering if they should go new or go used. How's the bike gotten better over the years? And to be honest, the bike hasn't changed too much over the years, but it has changed some, and it's been for the better. So the company Sur-ron was established in 2014, and then 4 years later, early 2018, was when they first got their first generation Sur-rons out to customers. And this was really exciting for the e-bike community. There had never been a bike so powerful and so cheap and so well built. And those first generation models were awesome. They were met with great success, and it did not take Sur-ron long to get feedback from the community, and they started to improve the bike before the year even ended. About halfway through the year in 2018, they started to ship the bikes out with a bigger, brighter headlight than the stock one. They also made the spoke nipples bigger so they were easier to tighten. And then getting into late 2018, they started to make some significant changes to the bike. Those first generation Sur-rons were shipping out with a Fast Ace or a Volcano downhill mountain bike fork, and Sur-ron ended up switching that over to the RST fork, and a lot of people liked that RST fork better. It had a bridge in the middle of that front shock, so it made the bike more predictable and made less play in your front tire. But the most significant change that Sur-ron did in that first year is that they introduced the X bike. Now the Sur-ron X bike was overall the same bike as that first generation Light B as far as the components go, except for one major thing, and that is the controller on the bike. The Sur-ron X bike introduced the Sine Wave X controller. It's clearly marked on the controller itself. It has a big X on it, where the stock version just says Sur-ron on it. And that X controller made the bike quieter, have a smoother acceleration, and it had about 30% more power output than the original Light B. And they also started shipping out the new bikes with an O-ring chain, which wrapped around the back sprocket and added an extra level of quietness to the bike. The X controller also introduced regen braking, so as you were rolling, the controller would actually slow the bike down on its own, and it would take that braking power and put that energy back into the battery, and you would actually be charging as you're coasting. Something else that was awesome that Sur-ron did is that they made that X controller available for purchase by itself. So if someone ordered a first generation Light B and they wanted all these new features, all they'd have to do is buy the controller from Sur-ron. They could take that controller and plug it into their old bike, and it would now have all these features of the new X bike. So overall, the X bike was a pretty massive upgrade from the stock bike, and this was all in their first year, 2018. Going into 2019, it was a pretty slow year for Sur-ron. They did very minor changes on the bike all year long. The bike that year ended up staying pretty much the same as the 2018 version. They ended up changing like grip colors, brake colors, and they ended up changing that white RST fork to black. This year, they also started shipping all their bikes with a front fender, which was kind of desperately needed in the 2018 versions for getting mud all over you, because that happens with these bikes. So in mid 2019, they started shipping the bikes with the front fender, and that was pretty much it for the 2019 versions. Unicycle in California, which is the only distributor in North America for the bikes, also introduced that year a black version of the bike. Normally the Sur-ron comes in a bunch of colors like red, orange, blue, green, yellow, white. So Unicycle introduced the black edition, which was the same bike except it was just black. But you know, Unicycle does do a lot of cool things with these bikes. That first batch of the black edition Sur-rons shipped with a RockShox Boxer front fork, which is an awesome front fork from the bike, a major upgrade from the RST stock one. They also have released very limited quantities of their Ludicrous bike, which basically is double the output power of the stock Sur-ron X. So if you're lucky enough to get your hands on one of those, it looks like a super sick bike. I haven't personally been able to ride one, but Unicycle does do special little versions of the bike every now and then. But since those two versions of the bike aren't official upgrades from Sur-ron for the bike, I'm not going to count them in this video. And that basically wraps it up for the 2019 version. It didn't change all too much, just basically color variations all year for the 2019 ones. I will add on, 2019 is the year where a lot of third parties started to introduce a lot of things you could add on to the Sur-ron. So while the Sur-ron itself didn't really upgrade from the actual company, there were a ton of third parties making bigger batteries, bigger sprockets, and other things that you could add onto the bike. And that was a big year for that kind of thing. So 2020 was a more productive year for Sur-ron as far as upgrading the bike goes. The overall specs of the bike did basically stay the same this year again, but in 2020 they started shipping out the bikes with rear mudguards for your tires and for your back shock, which was a real problem in 2018 and 2019. So that was a great upgrade, and probably the biggest thing that they did for the bike this year is that they introduced their first electric throttle in 2020. So in 2018, 2019, the bikes were all shipping with a traditional cable throttle, just like you'd find on a traditional gas bike. But like I said, in 2020, they introduced their first electric throttle, and the electric throttle basically feels like a quarter throttle on a dirt bike. It's very, very touchy, and there's no cable on it at all. It's just plug in and play, and it's actually very, very nice. It's a huge upgrade from the traditional cable throttle, which I really, really like. This is also the year that Unicycle, that we mentioned earlier from California, introduced their belt drive for the Sur-ron, and that basically was that you could change out your chain for a belt, so the bike was basically completely silent. It was very noticeable and very cool. Unicycle can ship you their bikes like this upon request. It is an extra like $300 for the belt drive. Not recommended for off-roading, but if you're on the street riding these things, it's very, very cool to have a silent bike. And finally, guys, we arrive at the present year, which is 2021. I am filming this video in March, so it's only been a few months in this year, and they've already got a couple new Sur-rons coming out on the line. They have done already a color change this year on the bike, which is the rear shock, which used to be black and now is red. But they also have done some significant changes, in my opinion, already this year. They've upgraded their electric throttle from the 2020 model, making it more responsive and better quality than the original one. But one thing that I think will be really good for the bike that they implemented this year is a chain bash guard. And what this does is prevent your chain from smacking against your swing arm as it goes around. I have a 2018 model personally. Where this chain guard now sits in the 2021 models, on my bike there's big scratches from when the chain is bouncing around and hitting the swing arm as it goes. So great upgrade so far. I'm excited to see what they're going to do for the rest of this year. So anyway, guys, that is the video. Let me know down in the comments how you liked it. I might have missed something. Let me know if I missed something through the years. A lot of changes have been put on the bike over the years, and I might have missed one. Definitely be sure to leave a comment and like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And once again, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.